Hi, I'm here today to talk to you about your teen and the 6 paths that they can take after high school. Yeah, there really are 6 for sure trails. Now, your teen might end up telling you that there are 7 after you watch this, but I'm here to have you be prepared for being able to say no, there are 6. Now, within those 6, there are many other, you know, paths you can take from that original road, but there are 6 strands or choices that can be made after high school. Hi, I'm Melanie from Parenting High Schoolers, and I'm here today again to talk to you about the 6 paths that your teen can take after high school. So, what are these? First of all, before we even get to the paths, let's talk about talking. My big thing is talk with your teen about everything. But one conversation that you need to start soon, and that is like as soon as you watch this video, is what does your teen want to do? And in my book, College Bound, I talk about this, that the earlier you can talk to your teen about what their choices are and what their likes and dislikes are and where do they see themselves in 2 years and 5 years and even 10 years down the road, to get these conversations going at an earlier age is so beneficial. And here's why. Because as your teen makes decisions about what they want to do after high school, by having some discussions and making some decisions ahead of time, you're going to save yourself time and your teen time. You're going to save your all selves money, lots of money, possibly. You're going to save yourselves a lot of heartache because there's so much going on in their lives and in ours that the more conversations that you guys can have ahead of time to work some of these details out so that you have an agreement and you understand where each other is coming from, the better. And by that, I mean to say, like, truly, middle school is a great time to start these conversations. However, if you have a high school person that's sophomore, junior, senior, it's not too late, but you need to get started with these conversations. I'm guessing if they're in high school, you probably have started some of these. So the choices, the 6 choices that they have. And these are in no particular order because one is not any better or worse than the other. And I really debated on which order I was going to talk about these in. So I'm just going to start with straight to work. Your teenager could graduate from high school and go straight into the workforce. That could be a good thing and it could be a challenging thing. One thing is if they've already had a job that they have been working at and they wanted to continue on, this is a great time to let them go ahead and do that. You know, maybe it's time for them to move out and see what it's like to try to survive on an income that they could earn straight out of high school. Now, it is possible to make a living from some careers at that point. Most of the time, I would highly recommend that your child get at least some post-high school education. That does not mean a 4-year college. It can mean a number of things of which I'm going to talk about. But in general, your child will make more if they have some kind of training after high school. But going straight into the workforce is a possibility. And there are so many careers now that do not require a college education, that this is possible. Especially in the online world, there are skills that they could have that do not require a 4-year degree for sure. Okay, so straight to work, that was first choice. Second is an apprenticeship or trade school. So if your child goes into trade school for, let's say, welding or electrician or plumber, or the choices are myriad, then this can lead them into a career path eventually. Now, would it be good to, in addition to that, maybe get a 2-year associate's degree with a business emphasis to possibly run their own company? That would be awesome. But to start out, to get into these careers with a trade school, that's all they really need. And I mean, I've talked to parents whose kids have gone to trade school for some of these careers and they're making $25 an hour. Or one kid I know became a welder and he had a specialty, which was mirror welding. He could reach behind something and do it backwards, like the mirror effect of whatever it was that he was doing. He got hired to work in, I want to say Qatar. It was somewhere in the Middle East. He got paid $1,000 a day. He did not have to pay for his housing or his food. They put him up on whatever facility this was. He had 30-day contracts. So he re-upped 3 times. So he was there for 90 days. He made $90,000. He came home and lived in his parents' basement for a couple of weeks, and then he got another contract and he went out to do the same thing. Not maybe necessarily for $1,000 a day, but the income that these kids can generate from having specialized skills is amazing. So we're talking $25 an hour to $1,000 a day. That's pretty incredible. Okay, so it also could lead to like an internship or an apprenticeship. And that is where you get on the job training. Most of the time it's paid, and you maybe get more schooling along the way. So those are really good possibilities to look into. So that was number 2, trade school. Okay, number 3, military. Now, military can look a couple of ways. It could just be flat military, and that's all they want to do. They want to be a soldier, they want to be a naval pilot, whatever. There are different degrees of admission. So sometimes they want you to have your college before you go into whatever the military is that you're looking for. But in a lot of cases, the military will pay for your college or pay for training. So let's say, in fact, a friend of mine was an air traffic controller. She got her training on the job in the Army, and then that turned into a job in the real world. The military can look a different variety of ways, but in essence, you don't necessarily have to go to college. They will provide the training that you need, or later on pay for your college. So it's a great option, especially for someone that likes to be physical, that needs a lot of structure. The military is a great place to go. Okay, gap year. This would be for a kid that just does not know what they want to do. Now, a gap year, it can be kind of challenging. In my recommendation, having had a number of my friends have their kids take a gap year, I would highly recommend that you all sit down before this decision is made and have a contract between you and your teen. How is this going to look? Are they going to lay around on the couch all day and eat bugles and play games? Or are you going to somewhat request that they do something, have a part-time job, maybe have 2 or 3 part-time jobs so they're at least making money while they are trying to decide what to do? This would be a great way for them to see, as hard as they're working, they're not making a lot of money. Another thing to do during gap year would maybe to be pick up a couple classes at the local college, or an online course, some sort of certification. So it's a great way for them to gain knowledge in the real world and possibly at school, but not really commit to going to school yet. And I would also, in this contract, not only have the expectations of what your child will be doing, also how long will this gap year last? Is it a year? Is it 9 months? At what point will you reassess what's working and what's not? And then at what point are you going to boot them out? Or are you going to boot them out in the first place? All of those things need to be agreed upon in the beginning so that there are no misunderstandings, that there are no angry or hurt feelings by what the other person's expectations are. I would have this conversation before this gap year starts. There's nothing wrong with your kid taking a gap year, but there do need to be some guidelines from the beginning. All right, so that was number 4. Number 5, an associate's degree. This would be a 2-year college, probably a community college, where they get some gen eds. And in general, like our second son is just going to finish his associates this fall, and he's still trying to decide kind of what he's going to do, and as a 4-year degree, what he needs. We're not really sure yet, and neither is he. So this was a great place for him to kind of get some gen eds out of the way, decide if finishing out his 4 years in college is what he needs or what he wants. This has been a good time for him. He even took a semester, he took 2 semesters off, basically, just not adjacent. He's just sort of worked more, and we've had a lot of conversations about what is he thinking that he wants to do and where does he think school will get him. So our minimum for him was he had to finish his associates. So he's short 9 hours, so he'll get those this fall, and then he's got some decisions to make. At that point, we're done paying for him, and he's going to have to start paying for his own rent and all that kind of stuff. But while he's in school, we said we would help take care of these things. So those are things you need to have conversations about so that your child is on the same page as you, or at least you guys agree ahead of time how are things going to look. A 2-year degree can also be a way for them to, as they take classes and explore different options in the academic world, what classes appeal to them. And it's also a good time for them. Now, of course, with COVID, a lot of kids in high school have now taken classes online, which before would not have been probably a typical choice. So this has been a way that our son has figured out that he really likes online better. So I do think if he finishes out a 4-year degree that he'll probably do it all online. That is it is his preference, and it works better for him because he is working so much. He was working between 30 and 40 hours some weeks, and some weeks he only had 20 hours, but at least he had the flexibility to, first of all, he could do some of his school work at his job when it was a slow time. And he could fit it around another part-time job that he had as well. So these are all things to think about. Do you want your child to be working at the same time? Some kids can handle it and some cannot. Our final, number 6 choice would be the 4-year college. And this is still a good option. But here's the thing. Even if this is what your child decides to do, there are a lot of ways that this can be approached. And these are the conversations that need to be had. How much can you spend? How much are you willing to spend? What does your teen need to contribute to this equation? We worked as a team with both of our boys. Grades, extracurriculars, jobs, spending money. They were in charge of their own spending money once they got to college. So these were things that they had to think about starting at about the age of 15. They started saving towards having about $3,000 per school year for fund money. Now, our oldest son went to a small private college in a small tiny town. There was nothing going on. So he ended up being able to spend some of his fund money on tuition. He got a really great scholarship package, less than the state school that was in our town, but it was still a stretch. So he was able to help with that because there was nothing going on there. And even if there was, it was so cheap. It was just this tiny little town. Be sure these are conversations that you are having with your teen before they make any kind of decision. How is it going to look? What are you going to do? What are they going to do? What are your all's expectations of each other? And that will go so far to helping them down that path of success after high school. So those were the 6 choices. First was straight to work. Second, a trade school. Third, military. Fourth, gap year. Fifth, a 2-year associate's degree. And 6th was a 4-year college degree. They are all excellent choices. It depends on your kid. It depends on their likes and dislikes. It depends on their talents and their interests. So there are so many ways to figure out these things. I've got lots of resources on my website, www.parentinghighschoolers.com. I would love for you to take a peek around. I'll put links down below for some good blog posts to read that might help with some of this decision making. Anyway, give me 2 thumbs up, and I hope you subscribe to my video. Hit that bell, and so whenever I have a new video out, which is every Saturday, you can be sure that you get a notification. Have a great day.